NOC Knives. We've got a budget NOC knife unboxing for you guys. Comes in a nice hard case. You can see the logo right there. Let's see how cool this is. It looks really, really cool in my opinion. It is a budget knife. And so let's see what we have. There it is. Is that carbon fiber? No. That looks like carbon fiber. Right? Am I crazy? Isn't that that's carbon fiber? It said G10. Maybe it's because it's laminated. That's probably why. So it looks like it's a layer of carbon fiber on top of G10. Ooh, look at that blade. This is why I wanted this knife. Those grind lines and that dagger blade. It is not sharp on this side. You can see it is completely dull. So for those that live in a state where you can't have dagger knives that are sharp on both sides, this will fit the bill. There is no issue here. It also has this cool kind of wave feature. Woo, woo, I gotta be careful. Let me try that again. Okay, we'll pretend this is pants. Woo, there we go. So yeah, you can have this in your pocket. You pull it out, it's going to deploy for you. Kind of a cool knife. Here's my other NOC Knives knife. NOC Knives knife. This is kind of what they're more known for, the higher end, crazy futuristic type craziness going on with all the titanium and stuff. And this is a budget knife that they've done. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Design-wise, this double pivot system screw thing. I don't know what's happening inside here. It's got a cool copperish type surround. I don't know if that's actual copper. Carbon fiber thing going on here. It's a steel liner lock, as you can see right there, so no need for an insert. You've got pocket clip, standard pocket clip, not deep carry, but it's got this cool like screw aesthetic thing that NOC Knives kind of does so well. G10 backspacer. Curious to see what the construction is underneath these scales. So I'd imagine you pop these scales off, and there's probably some set screws or screws going through the backspacer here, hold everything together. Looks pretty good in terms of quality. So the price on this, I think, is like 80 bucks is what I paid for it. I got this from White Mountain Knives. This is a really cool design just because of that blade. I wish they offered this in a higher end version. And, you know, I like budget knives, and it's a great way for people to get knives for sure, 100%. But it would be awesome if they did a, wow, look how big that is. It would be cool if they did a higher end version of this, just in like M390, maybe titanium liners here, you know, carbon fiber, like real carbon fiber, all the way carbon fiber, even though this actually looks really, really clean and really nice. So really just steel upgrade. Oh, by the way, the steel, this is what's going to make you guys scoff. And you're going to be like, I was totally on board with this until you told me the steel. There's the NOC Knives logo, the N and the triangle. It is 440C. What's cool about 440C, other than the fact that it's a reasonable steel, is that it's probably better than you think, because a lot of the knives that you thought were 440C were actually 440A, 440B, or not even in the 440 category. It was very common years ago for cheap Chinese-made knives to say 440C, because that's what most knives were made out of at the time, and they weren't really 440C. So similar to the D2 thing that happened, what is it, 4 or 5 years ago, where a lot of Chinese knives would say they're D2. They aren't really D2. They're 8CR13 MOV or something. And so people would get the wrong impression of that particular steel. They would buy those, they would use them, and they'd be like, oh man, you know, the D2 isn't as good as I thought. It doesn't hold an edge as well as I thought. So I think the same thing might be for 440C. You might not have an accurate representation of it. Now, don't get me wrong. It is a budget steel. It's been around for a long time. In fact, fun fact, 440C is the first ever quote unquote super steel. So that at one time, 440C was a super steel, like back in I think the 80s. That was kind of the latest and greatest high-end steel is 440C. And real 440C, heat treated well, it's not too bad, not too shabby. And when you're dealing with a knife that looks as cool as this for 80, 90 bucks, I mean, I don't know. I'll admit I'm struggling a little with the 440C at that price point. If this was closer to 50 or 60, I would swear up and down that it's a great choice and it's just fine. you know, at 80, 90 bucks, I do kind of wish they would have upgraded to something a little bit better. And I think they could have done it for very little extra cost. But the other good thing, right? What this means to me, when you see a company like NOC Knives and other knives do knives in 440C, that makes me feel more confident about the knives in M390. Because if they were lying about their 440C, or if they were lying about their M390 and they weren't really using it, then they would just say M390 on everything. They would say, oh, this is M390, 90 bucks. It's just a really good deal. So that makes me more confident in the other knives that, man, this thing is cool. It's just so stiletto-y. I mean, this Dagger blade, and it is, it's pretty big. It is a pretty big knife. You can see it compared to the Paramilitary 2. That is a massive, massive knife. And it is sharp. It is sticking to my fingernails like nobody's business. Those grinds, though. Look at that little bit of stonewash. Like just on the flats there. A little bit of stonewash. Really, really nice. Cool. Super smooth. Action is excellent. Drop shutty. Look at that. Just floats down. And it's not even broken in. I just opened it up. I do kind of wish there was a little bit of jimping on this flipper tab here. I haven't slipped off yet. It's a good angle, but it would be nice if it had just like a little touch of texture on there. Make me a little more confident in flipping that open. I also like how from this angle it looks like both sides are sharp. So that's a good job, right? You only notice when you turn it this way that it is not sharp at all. It is completely blunt. It's not even close to being sharp. You would have to put a massive secondary bevel on this side in order to sharpen that. You can see the actual sharpened side has a very light secondary bevel. You can hardly even see it. God, it almost looks like a zero grind. Wow, you can just barely catch that secondary grind. And it's not super thin. Interesting. I'm going to have to see how this does in terms of sharpness. It is shaving hair. So it is definitely sharp. Not the best slicer, but a Dagger grind wouldn't ever claim to be the best slicer. Really cool knife. Really cool knife. It's funny how sometimes the budget knives are the ones that I'm most excited about and talk the most about, just because they're can sometimes be interesting. You know, more expensive knives, it's kind of like, yeah, it's good, but it should be. You know, it costs $400. I would expect it to be good. Or $300 or whatever the case may be. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'll talk to you later.